I am really curious because I've never been to a PGA event. I'm legitimately curious to see like what is their interaction with them? You know what I mean? Because like when you see it on TV, I feel like you see them, you see, from time to time you'll see guys like giving high fives and stuff, but I'm like, can you actually get to that spot where like they could give you a high five from one hole to the next, or is it like really hard to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never been to a golf event before of any sorts unless I was playing at some cheap country club. So I couldn't tell you, man. You know what? You can report back because I'm genuinely curious about that myself. But yeah, I don't know.
Like I'm just curious, and I would imagine without knowing, this is just my prediction that some of the players like Scotty, I imagine, is going to be way harder to get to him to be able to like give him a high five or something than it is like,
Yeah,
if I'm just
Michael
strolling.
Kim or somebody.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like Ricky Fowler. Well, maybe I don't know. Ricky Fowler's like Chris Gotterup, would I be able to like talk to him for a second? Like, hey, what up, buddy? I don't know.
What up, buddy?
Yeah.
Let me know how that goes.
I mean, what would you say? I don't know. What do you say to him?
I
Like,
say,
hey, what up, Chris?
I'd say, what's up with it, Christopher?
In a Borat voice?
Yeah.
They'll be like, they'll call security. They'll be like, there's a really weird guy that's doing a Borat impersonation. We might want to remove him.
This guy's had one too many drinks already, and it's 9 a.m.
Do you think I could get this in there?
I hope so. Actually, I don't hope so. That seems like a recipe for disaster.
Kind of looks like a golf ball. Be like, hey, I brought my golf ball.
Speaking of that, dude, we haven't had a chance to talk about the group text yet from Tony earlier about the Bardstown bottles, at which I am sipping on Bardstown tonight. It's actually it's very bright on the screen. Sorry about that. This is the here. Let me do this. This is the last sip of this one.
Ooh.
I just poured the remainder of it. Well, there's a drop in there. I might be able to squeeze more drop out of there. But have you seen the pictures? Did you open up the Instagram link to see
I did.
what the new bottles look like? Bro, Bardstown is a premier distillery. It's like, in my opinion, it's like the second best one that we go to. These are not bad labels. I don't understand what they're talking about. People apparently complained about the labels and not being able to differentiate their bottles. And now they look like they're creating some sort of great value water bottle concept from the early 2000s. And the bottles look like shit, dude. Like they're getting absolutely roasted on their social media
Yeah.
for the new layout of their bottle design. I don't understand it.
Well, I mean, did they say it's final or was it more like them testing the concept to see how people react? I wonder.
I mean, I think that they said it was already in effect, but who knows? I guess
Yeah.
they were not getting. It was not well received. We'll put it that way. Like every comment I saw was negative. So maybe they'll put it in reverse, Terry, and go back to their old bottle labels.
Well, I mean, so the way that they do their labels, they do them by color, right? They have like all the different
Mm-hmm.
colors, but then I feel like what actually gets confusing is because they do it by color, there's so many like one-off random collab things that like some of the
Yeah,
colors look pretty similar, where you're like, is this a collab or is this like a normal bottle? Like I do kind of understand that. So maybe it's just like there's too many of them or something. I don't know.
I don't know, but what they're doing isn't it.
Yeah, I agree.
It is funny, and if people are listening to this and they don't have any idea, just go look up Bardstown Distilling, or Bardstown Bourbon Company on their Instagram, and you'll be able to see these pictures of their new
Yeah,
their new.
yeah. So I don't know. Very, very interesting, but I will report back. I'm looking forward to going to the waste management, and it'll be really interesting because I'm going to be picking for DraftKings, and there's a few others in our league that are going to be there as well. And so it's like you're picking your DraftKings lineup, and then you're just seeing it live. It's like this is kind of weird.
That is pretty sick. That's kind of sick. Would you know? Do you have like? I guess you probably don't have an assigned location, right? That probably happens like after the fact. Like when you get there, you probably just go to wherever you're going, or do you have like an assigned seat or things like that?
No, so with the general admission ticket, you can basically roam wherever you want. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's specific seating where you'd have to pay a boatload of money to get the seating if you want like the stadium
Right,
stuff.
right.
But no, I mean generally speaking, you can go wherever. Like you can go. It's literally like just walking a golf course. They have it roped off, so you know where you can walk.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, no, it's just general. So I don't know. Should be interesting. I'll report back for sure. Should be hopefully a good time.
Well, and you're going to take photos, I know, but maybe a little footage while you're there too. We can get
Yeah,
some behind the scenes, maybe.
yeah. So I'm gonna have to record with my phone. So you're actually not allowed to take cameras in.
Interesting. I was
Yeah,
wondering that. I know certain courses have certain rules.
yeah. Which kind of weird, right? Because your phone is a camera. So
How
I
does
don't know.
that work with like the social media golfers? Like, are they able to get footage while they're there if they're a golfer?
So you have to get a media pass. So they have this whole
Oh,
separate thing where if you are, yeah, if like you're an influencer, whatever the hell you want to call it, you can definitely. But obviously, I didn't apply for that.
why not?
I don't know. I didn't think about it.
Single barrel sports media badge, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That would be sick. But I don't know. I don't know if there's specifics you have to meet, or I didn't really look into it. I guess I never really thought of it until we just talked about it now.
That's fair.
So
Well, as you know, I won't be there. I will be there in spirit. That seemed like it's not like we're that close. We're about 3 to 3.5 months out yet, but it was just a little close when we first found out about the trip. And with Raven's pregnancy, we were just like, maybe we don't risk that,
yeah,
especially with this being a very party heavy atmosphere. And that just seemed like a recipe for disaster. She wouldn't want to be standing all day, that's for sure. So
yeah. That is definitely. Yeah, that's one where you probably going to have to stand for a long time unless you bring your own chairs, which I don't think we will because we have 9 people. So it's like I don't think 9 people are going to be able to fit a chair unless we have like a foldable tiny chair or something. But
are you
uh,
guys? I'm assuming probably you're flying there, right? There's no way you're driving there, right?
yeah, everybody's flying in. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that'd be quite a journey if you were driving.
it does take 1 day and 5 hours if you're curious from Michigan.
Holy shit. Yeah, no thank you. So you guys are flying there Wednesday, right? What's on the docket? Just let's just talk about the trip. What all are you going to do while you're there? Because I think you're only going to the event for one day, right?
Yeah, so Wednesday we're flying in. We get off the plane. 4 of us are actually going to golf. So literally we're
A little
gonna
tea time right off the plane.
yeah, right off the plane. So we got a tea
Hell
time.
yeah,
So pick up our car, drive to the course, golf. And then Thursday's just a chill day. So we got like a B&B that has a pool and a hot tub and just like all kind of
nice.
fun stuff, like how we usually do.
Hmm.
Friday's the event, so we'll be there pretty much the whole day. And then Saturday is another hangout day. We're gonna probably do a hike somewhere, like a chill hike, not like anything crazy.
Nice.
But then get this, we're getting a hibachi to come to the house.
A mobile hibachi?
Yeah,
That's a thing,
yep.
dude.
I
Oh,
have to give credit to Eli's wife because she's the one that asked us if we wanted to do it, and I was like, hell yeah! I was like, that
that is
sounds sweet.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Damn. Now I'm really envious.
So my friend Kyle, and if he's listening, he'll laugh. The first thing he asks in the group chat is, "Can they feed us or throw the food at us while we're laying in the pool?"
I mean, they probably can. Let's be honest,
I was
and I'm
like,
sure they've done it before.
I was like, I feel like that would make a mess, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
It certainly would. Yeah, they don't care about that. I mean, any hibachi restaurant, there's food everywhere, and then they just clean it up, man. That's just part of the fun.
Yeah. So I don't know.
The real question should have been: can I be laying on a raft in the pool, getting sake squirted in me from outside of the pool?
I think that was also asked in the chat. To be fair.
Because that I would have my name written all over that.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm planning on, like I think I told you, I'm planning on taking some recording equipment out there. And so we'll probably try to film some content and maybe I might try to get a couple of guests on for like a, special
Hell yeah!
segment or something like that we do.
Get some footage from the course, bro. When you guys are playing. I mean, obviously focus on playing, but it'd be cool to get a little footage while you guys are out there playing too.
Yeah. I'll try. Gotta remember. Gotta remember.
Man,
So
well, that sounds like fun, dude. I'm super pumped for you. Hopefully, it's a good event, but it sounds like the event is not going to make or break this trip by any means. You got a lot of fun stuff planned, so that's good.
yeah, I mean, it was part of the reason to go there, but we'll try to do other stuff as well. So should be fun. Should be an
For sure.
interesting one for, first time PGA event. We'll see. But
Hell yeah.
speaking of PGA, what'd you think of the Farmers Insurance this past week? Golf's back.
Well, it is back, and it's great to have it back, and I think it showcased sometimes that I put my foot in my mouth a little bit when I talk on this podcast. And there were a couple of guys that really showed out that I was kind of dogging on last week, and
Mm.
I'll own that. And Thigala, if you're listening, do it twice this season. and then I'll apologize.
Do what twice?
Good. Played good golf twice this season.
Oh my gosh. I'll let him know if I see him. I'll be like, my boy Scott loves you.
Listen, I don't. It's not like I don't even. It's not that I dislike the guy. I've only watched golf for 1 year, and he was terrible. And he was like, I felt like he was hyped at the beginning. It sounds like maybe he had an injury, but it was just like, dude, this guy's never done good all year, and everyone keeps talking about him. But he did. He did well this weekend. But the real story was Justin Rose, who I almost picked.
Yeah.
I went back and forth between him and Norin, a guy that I was hyping up last week. And then Rose ends up winning the whole event, and Norin doesn't even make the cut. And so that's how my week 1 started.
So it's funny. So I think I told you guys this, but I actually had my wife pick my lineup as the inaugural because I was like, you know what, you give it a shot, because I feel like I pick these and I get like pissed sometimes when people don't make the cut. So hey, for the first time or first pick ever for her, she had 5 out of 6 make the cut. She did tell me though that she did have Justin Rose and switched him out. So, and she also had Xander and switched him out. So I'm like, well,
that cancels a little bit.
Yeah, one was good, one was, could have been better.
Xander must have been carrying his kid the night before the Saturday or before Friday.
I don't know, man. Like that guy, since he got hurt, has not been it's so weird when people get hurt in golf. I mean, it's happened countless times. Zalatoris, before he broke his back, was on a heater. I mean, he was like coming in like second every major, or like, he was just crazy. I mean, I'll say Xander was, I mean, he won the 2 majors or whatever it was. I think it was not last year, the year before. Got hurt last year. Thigala also got hurt last year, for the record. Tiger Woods, never the same. Something weird, man.
Yeah. Well, some of them probably practice outside of the San Francisco 49ers practice facility.
Oh my God.
No, but here's my take on the weekend. Justin Rose ran away with it. It was a one-man show.
Yeah.
Really kind of from the start, but definitely in the last couple of days, there was no one anywhere near him, especially on Sunday. It was just like, oh, well, this guy's up by 6 or 7. Like, he wins. Like, there's no one going to pass him. And no one even gained any strokes on him. So kudos to him. Dominant performance. But the real takeaway for me was it was awesome having golf on the TV again this weekend.
Yeah, I know.
Spent a lot of time running around. We have a very open concept in the new house. Constantly running around from like kitchen to living room to like our son's play area, and then just running in circles. And it's awesome that golf is just up there like the whole time I'm doing that, just right there on the TV, right there within eyesight. And so I'm looking forward to this season a whole lot.
Golf is one of those sports too where you can just have it on and you don't have to pay attention to every single moment. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know, you can just like tune out a little bit, do whatever, and then come back and, oh, this guy's now on the leaderboard. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's kind of one of those things where the event's so long that you don't really have to tune into like every single minute. So I feel like that's also nice, where you can just have it on in the background, tune in and out of it. It's really a gem on the weekend,
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. For that exact reason, man.
What'd you think about Brooks Koepka and his return, making the cut? And I mean, he didn't do well, but he made the cut.
I mean, he made the cut, and that speaks for itself, right? I mean, he was relevant because he made the cut.
Yeah.
He wasn't relevant when it came to the final standings, but he played 4 days of golf. So good for him, man. I know some of the reporters were a little harsh on him coming into the event, kind of talking about his lack of success in recent years. So
yeah,
good for him to make there's probably a lot of pressure on him to make the cut. Coming back from Live, his first start. Well, this was his first start, I think, right?
Yeah, officially.
Yeah. So yeah, good for him. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what he looks like the rest of the year. But Tom Kim made the cut. So there's that.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of people making the cut, if you're here with us, welcome to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. You've officially made the cut to join us. If you've been here, you haven't been here, singlebarrelsports.com is where you're going to find everything. We ask that you like, subscribe, and follow if you think we're doing a nice job, and if you're a sports fan just like us.
That's right. And welcome in if you're new.
Okay, so the one thing I've been meaning to ask you, we have not got to actually talk about this, because I feel like there's been this weird college football wrapped up, NFL playoffs. Now we're, in this weird phase of, okay, Super Bowl coming up this weekend. But I wanted to take a second to look back, because I think we did this a little bit with college football. And I did try
Hmm.
to post a separate video about my thoughts of college football. But what do you think? What were your like top few surprises from this past year in the NFL? What were a few things that stuck out to you where you were like, wow, I didn't expect this to happen, or it just kind of took you by surprise if you had to look back at all the things that happened this past year? Because it was a crazy year, let's be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I could go so many directions here, but the first thing I think about is for a team that ended up 4-13. I'm talking about the New York Giants, right? They showed all kinds of potential and a lot of reasons to be excited. And I think one of the biggest surprises was Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo coming in and looking awesome as rookies, both of them looking great, revitalizing a team whose biggest superstar by far got hurt early in the year and missed the whole season. And yet the team was still fun to watch because you got these two young guys that came in and really just took the team by storm. And I think it's very uncommon that when you draft multiple skilled skill player skill position rookies that they all work out, in
Yeah,
their first season. And we have to also think about this, that Abdul Carter was their first pick. So we're not even talking about like the first people that they drafted. And Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo both looked like they're going to have a place in this league. As long as they can avoid injuries, they're going to be really good, viable starters for the foreseeable future. So I think that was a big surprise for me. And I honestly am really excited to watch that team grow because they've got so much potential. They just got to stay out of the injury room.
well, what do you think too? Because I mean, now they have John Harbaugh as their head coach.
Yeah, I mean that there's a lot of experience there. There's a lot of success there with that head coach. So I mean, we'll see. The Ravens let him walk, which sounds kind of crazy, but sometimes people just need to change, and I don't know that that means that Harbaugh is bad or the Ravens are bad, but sometimes just things got to switch up. And so I don't think it makes them any worse by any means. I mean, John Harbaugh is a name that anybody would really probably want on their coaching staff. So you bring in a very experienced and accomplished head coach to rally these young, talented players. Yeah, I think it could work out. It could be a recipe for success. They are not in a strong division other than the Eagles historically recently. And so I think we're probably going to see them do pretty well moving forward here, because one could argue that the Washington Commanders fell off this year and that they'll be back because they had a lot of injuries too, but they didn't look impressive. So the Eagles, I think, or not the Eagles, the Giants have a legitimate shot at potentially, maybe I'm going to get cooked for this, but potentially competing for their division next year. That might be too far, but we'll see.
I'm wondering if it happens next year or the year after. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I mean, if they have Dart, Scadaboo, and Malik Neighbors and the defense gets better, they could definitely be, they could be
Well,
dangerous for sure.
yeah, and let me look up. I mean, they're going to have a good draft pick again this year, right? Because
Yeah.
they went 4-13.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like, all of the hype gets more hype. They're the fifth pick in the draft this season.
Yeah.
And what they do with that is either they get another superstar for the future, or maybe they trade that and fill in some holes and really focus on this year, or getting young depth for the next few years. But to your point, I do think it's saying next year is probably too early. But look at the Patriots this year. It was too early for them, and here they are in the Super Bowl. So at this point, I'm not writing anything off, especially coming in a little bit of a weaker division, just like how the Patriots were, other than the Bills.
Well, and the thing that they have going for them, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could be going for them, but like you said, they did show signs of like a lot of life this year, which I think
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like momentum where you're like, ooh, the potential is there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, even like, teams like think about the Panthers, right? The Panthers had a dog awful season the past few years. And by no
Yeah.
means did they have a great season this year, but they took a step towards being better, right? They made the playoff. I know it was this weird technicality, but like you saw that growth happen naturally just as their, I think players got more mature, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
I really wouldn't doubt it if the Giants were like a 8-win, 9-win, potentially 8-win. I'm thinking next year. 7 to 8 wins is I want to say would be a good mark for them.
That's probably more reasonable. I was thinking maybe 9. Let me ask you this. Do you think the Giants finish above the Dallas Cowboys next year?
If not above, right there with probably like similar records if the Cowboys keep playing like they did this year.
Do the Giants finish above the Commanders this next year?
That's hard. I mean, the Commanders, some of that to me weighs on the health of the quarterback. If he comes back and he's playing how he was, I think the Commanders will be better. But if he struggles based on injury, I don't know. They could also still be mid.
My prediction is the Giants will be in second place in their division next year. And I don't know who's going to be in first, but I think the Giants will be in second.
I don't know if the Eagles will maintain at the
That's
rate
what
that
I'm
they're
saying.
going.
It could literally be any of those teams could be number one.
Yeah.
I think the Giants will move from fourth to second, though,
Yep.
is my prediction.
That's fair.
We'll see. We'll see.
That's fair.
That's my way too early prediction based upon one of my top 5 surprises of this season.
So one of mine that was really surprising overall was that the Chiefs really fell off. I mean, from going from making the Super Bowl and being a pretty gritty team to, I mean, they didn't make the playoff. You know what I mean? Like I know they had a lot of injuries, but boy, it seems like they fell off a lot from the season before. That was surprising to me because I feel like for the last few years it's been, okay, they're not as good or they wean and wane a little bit. And then towards the end of the year, they do their Chiefs thing where they somehow find a way through the playoffs. But I was very surprised at how bad they finished the season. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, before the injury even happened, they had a little bit of a banged up offensive line. They have no running game, so that none of that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got some stuff to figure out. I think they're going to go pick up Isaiah Likely. I think he's going to be on the Chiefs next year, which might fill a gap if Kelsey leaves. And if Kelsey doesn't leave, who wouldn't want to have both of those guys anyway? But they've got to figure out running back. I think that's their biggest issue.
Yeah. Well, they could pick up Kenyon Sadiq.
They could.
I mean,
they could.
That would be a steal in the draft.
I'm curious how high he's going to go in the draft because that guy's kind of a beast.
Yeah. I don't know.
Surely teams are going to want him. It's just a matter of, who gets him.
No idea, but that could be a sneaky pick for them. The other one I'll throw in there other than the Chiefs is I was really surprised at how well the Patriots did. I did not expect it. I would never have, giving Andrew his flowers. I wouldn't have expected. I really wouldn't, based on how they have been playing the past few years. I just didn't foresee them going to the Super Bowl that quickly.
Yeah. I think a big surprise for me is how bad the Ravens looked this year compared to the last 5 years or so. And as an owner of Lamar Jackson for fantasy football in my dynasty league, he was battling injuries all year, but man, like there was no sign of hope being a Lamar Jackson owner this year. And so that makes you wonder, especially in some of these QBs that have thrived off of being mobile, how does he come back next year after an offseason of rest? Like, is he going to be back true to form?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there wear and tear that's happening there? Because Lamar Jackson is not going to be a quarterback that if he takes a 3-step drop and sits in the center of the pocket, that he has the same success that he does if he is a dual threat quarterback. And I'm not saying he can't throw the ball, but I'm saying defenses have to play the Ravens differently than they play other teams because on any given play, he could be the runner.
Yep.
And so I don't know, man. I mean, if they can't get back to form, now I'm going to give him the injury pass because he had multiple injuries this past year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got to get that injury stuff figured out because otherwise, I mean, if Lamar doesn't start looking like Lamar again, then that team is going to struggle again, I think. And they got outshined by the Patriots with 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Or not the Patriots, the Steelers, with 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers leading the helm there. So,
yeah. Yeah. What else? Do you have any other big surprises or things you didn't expect at all?
The Jaguars was a big one for me.
Yeah.
I thought they might take a step forward this year, but they were a legitimate contender. In fact, I thought they would beat the Bills in the playoffs. That's how good the Jaguars actually were. And Trevor Lawrence looked dominant. I've been a kind of a hater of him for the last couple of years because he just hasn't been putting it together. But this year, he was fire. And that team looks like they could be good for a little while. They look like they could be good for a minute.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't expect that either. I mean, I agree with you. I thought that they had the skill players and the momentum to move forward, but I didn't think that they would be in the position that they were at the end of the year. I also didn't expect the Texans to do so poorly and then make what was it, like 9 or 10 games in a row they won at
Yeah,
the end of
I
the
think it was
year?
10 in a row. Yeah.
I mean, that was a very crazy run that they had at the end. Obviously, it came to a close because I feel like they played horribly in the playoffs, but or at least versus the Patriots. But
Well, CJ Stroud's just started throwing turnovers. He just like he did in the beginning of the year. It just looked like that streak ended, and then they reverted back to their first few weeks of the season.
yeah, it was very, very weird. But I definitely didn't expect that. And then the other big one is number one. I didn't expect the Colts to be the number one team for I don't even remember how many weeks it was. I didn't
Yeah,
expect Daniel Jones to be that good when he was, on the roll. I didn't expect them to take a downturn after they were doing that well. I mean, I expected it to even out a bit, like, okay, at some point they're going to lose a few games, but then it just went like it was almost like a roller coaster where they went up the hill and then they went very
yeah.
sharply down the hill. And then
Just as
Philip
fast as they went
Rivers,
up, they
like
lost. Yeah,
Philip Rivers, who called that? Who had that on their sheet in the preseason? Tell me one person. No one.
he didn't look terrible. I mean, he didn't look good, but he didn't look terrible either.
No, I mean,
I think that was a big surprise. That was a big surprise.
yeah. I don't know.
I'm trying to think. There were a lot of surprises this year, and one we talk about this all the time, but I think JJ McCarthy still is a surprise to me because every time that he looks like garbage, if you just wait 5 minutes, he makes a throw that like it makes him look like an all pro.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest surprise was the Vikings not being able to put it together. They obviously lost their quarterback from last year. Sam Darnold went elsewhere. Now he's going to the Super Bowl, but it just looked like, Carson Wentz was doing all right. JJ won the first game. They beat the Bears, who ended up winning the division. And then Carson Wentz looked okay. And then JJ came back, and it was just a very roller coaster of a year with JJ having like 4 or 5 injuries throughout the year and Justin Jefferson just struggling and the whole offense struggling. And yet they still had a winning record at the end of the year and finished above the Lions despite all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird year, man. Very
Very,
weird year.
very, very. I think we could probably go down 1,000 surprises, honestly. We really
Yeah.
so here's I think the overall question then, thinking about it. You and I have watched a lot of NFL football, over many years. Where would you rank this season if you had to put it on a scale of, let's say, 0 to 100, 100 being like the best NFL season you've ever watched and 0 being the worst? I know that's a large scale, so if you need to do 0 to 10, that's fine, but where would you rank it in terms of just overall, like the season in general so far?
Yeah. I was I was satisfied with the season. I think there were a lot of great storylines in sports this year, and there was also a lot of shakeup with teams. Like, I would have never thought we'd have a three-way tie in the NFC South with the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Falcons at the end of the season. I did think the Bears would be better, but I didn't think that they would beat the Packers, out for the division, and or that the Vikings and Lions would all be in last place in that division. I think there were a ton of surprises, and it was very competitive for most of the season. I mean, if you think back to week 17, you and I were still talking about all these hypotheticals about situations for teams to get into the playoffs. And so we had good, meaningful football right up until the very end, which is not always a guarantee. There's plenty of debate about a whole lot of variety of topics in the NFL this year, which I think means that the sport is healthy for the most part. And so I thought this was a great season for someone who's not overly tied to one team. I do like the Bills, but I don't really have like that homer mentality about any football team. So
Mhm.
the playoffs have been mostly competitive and fun. There's only been a couple games that weren't. I would have to say, I mean, it's not the best season of all time, but I don't know, man. Giving it just off the top of my head, I mean, I'd give it like a 90 out of 100, maybe. I mean, there's been a lot of good things happening this year and a lot of variety and switch ups with teams that are good, switch ups with players that are good. I mean, Drake May and Matthew Stafford are in the MVP conversation. No one's talking about Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Saquon Barkley. There's just new conversations happening, which I think is really cool. JSN and Puka Nakua are being discussed as the best wide receivers, not Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So I think it feels like this was like the start of something new this year. And I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd give it like an 85. I was pretty close to where you were thinking. And I thought the refreshing thing was that there was always something new happening, right? Like sometimes I feel like sports can get very stale, where it's like, oh yeah, it's always the Chiefs. It's always like the same teams that are good or leading or make the playoffs. I feel like this year almost was like a clean slate where a lot of new teams popped up, or teams that were like, okay, they were okay in the past, but now it almost seems like there was a clean slate going into from last year at least, or the last few years of like who's the dominant teams.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at division winners. The Patriots, not the Bills. The Steelers, not the Ravens. The Jaguars, not the Texans. The Broncos, not the Chiefs.
Yeah.
We could say the Eagles we knew about, but the Bears, not the Vikings, Lions, or Packers. The Bears were always like the black sheep of that division.
Yep.
The Panthers and not the Bucks.
Yeah.
The Seahawks and not the Rams or the 49ers. I mean, every division had a division winner that maybe you didn't expect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you entirely.
Yeah. Well, and it just makes it more fun, right? It's like not like the same exact teams winning every year. I feel like that just gets old. It's nice if you're a fan of that team, don't get me wrong, but like if you're like a Chiefs fan, of course I'm sure you were happy, or an Eagles fan the last few years, but it's like, it's time to switch it up. But it's almost what it reminds me of is in college football when Alabama started to fall off a bit. Like not that they're completely,
Yeah.
not relevant now, but it's almost like a reset. It was like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
It's not always Alabama, Georgia. Like that's how I felt more this year, where like they're still in the mix, but there's other people out there that are good. So I don't know. I thought it was good, but I know last week we did our Super Bowl picks. So I believe, remind me, did you pick the Seahawks, right?
Yeah, I mean, just in good faith, I think you have to choose the Seahawks. If you're talking about outright winning, the team is just more of a complete team. They've had more of the dominant stretch. They've beaten better teams. Now that does not mean that the Patriots cannot win, because I truly think either team could win. But in good faith, with all the statistics that we have, I feel like we are on a neutral territory here. It's not like there's a home field advantage. It would be hard for me to pick the Patriots. And in fact, the Seahawks are going to be a lot closer to home than New England because they're playing in San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay. And I picked the Patriots. So give me here, I'll do the Patriots. You can do the Seahawks, so we can kind of act like we're the, coaches or whoever strategizing. What do you think are like the three key things the Seahawks have to do to win the Super Bowl overall?
Well, I don't think it's that challenging. I think they need to mix up their defensive schemes to be confusing and to have pressure. Drake May, with all the success that he's had this year, it seems like when there's pressure, he struggles a little bit more than when he actually has time to throw the ball. And he is only a second year quarterback. So if we can get creative with defensive scheming and keep him guessing and not giving him a lot of time, then you're going to slow that team down quite a bit. And you're going to force them to rely on the run, which the Seahawks have done pretty good at stopping this year. So I think that's a big thing here. I think the one of the biggest keys in this game is going to be getting the ball to the hands of their stars early. Sometimes this season, what we've seen, they've got JSN on the team. And sometimes what we've seen is they go into halftime and he's got like one reception for like 11 yards. And it's a close game. And then all of a sudden in the second half, he has like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they win by 21 points all of a sudden. So, but it's not just JSN. They have a lot of great players, but I think Cooper Kupp is a former Super Bowl MVP that can't be slept on. He's a big part of why they beat the Rams. And I think you rely on his experience and his clutch factor, if you want to call it that, in the big moments. And you got to feed those guys. Kenneth Walker is going to have to get it done on the ground, and he doesn't have Charbonnet, but I wish I could remember the other backup's name, but he came in and looked pretty good last week, or 2 weeks ago. So I think you just don't want to over rely on Walker. I think you want to utilize him, but you want to really feed the ball to your star players. This is the last game of the year. You don't need to hold back.
Okay. I got you. I think those are all very fair points. I think for the Patriots, the three key areas kind of relates to yours a bit, but I think number one, they have to run the ball. They have to control the clock, keep the ball out of the hands of the Seahawks offense, right? Like if they can control the clock, they can run the ball and slow the game down a little bit. I actually think that will go a long way in terms of making sure that's not a super high scoring game. Because I think the more high scoring it gets, maybe the more the Seahawks I would think are favored.
I would agree with that.
Number two, I think that they need to cause turnovers. Like for them to to really, I think, win this game, they have to make sure that they're either causing fumbles or making Sam Darnold make mistakes, because he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And so it's
Mhm.
either going to be pressures, sacks, maybe it's special teams. Like, can they get, a muffed punt or something weird, a blocked kick, where they get, maybe like a couple more turnovers than normal. And then I think the last thing will be, man, I would say their defense has to put the clamps down on the Seahawks run game, because I think Sam Darnold and JSN and all that, like they are very good and they can kill you if you don't, play them well on the other side. But if they can make the Seahawks more one dimensional and make
Mhm.
them throw it a lot, that's where I think maybe they'll have some of those turnovers pop up. Like, can they force him into a pick or a sack or get that pressure on there to make him feel it? So those would probably be the three things I would think through that would be like keys to them winning.
I think there's a lot of things you said there that make so much sense. The Patriots, number one, are already one of the top defenses in the league at stopping the run, right? So, like, we've
Yeah.
seen that all year.
Yep.
People can talk about the weak schedule all they want, but they've had a great defense that has played good on both sides, pass and run, but they've especially done good at stopping the run. And they're going against a team that has had a two-headed monster all season that has just one head left on that monster now, which, again, I think is part of why the Seahawks need to lean on their stars early and not get behind on the time of possession game. And another thing that you said that I think makes the most sense in the world is that the Patriots need to play a slow and calculated football game here where they try and maintain long drives, long possessions, and keep it as tight as possible when it comes to you. They don't want 8 total touchdowns in this game, because if there's 8 total touchdowns in this game, then probably 5 or 6 of them are going to be the Seahawks. The Patriots want this game to be like a 21-14 style game. They don't want it to be a 38-30 game or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and so it'll be interesting. I think the Patriots are absolutely going to have to get the running game going early. And then I also think just heavy volume to Stephon Diggs in these short routes that he kind of specializes in, and just feed him the football.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we'll see. Should be a good game. Looking forward to watching it, seeing some of the Super Bowl commercials, and hopefully it's a good one. That's really all I care about, is at least give us a good game. I really don't like it if it's a blowout. To me, that's kind of like, what's the point?
Let me ask you this. Have the Super Bowl commercials gotten worse over time, or have our expectations gotten higher over time?
Good question. I mean, I think we've probably gotten a little desensitized because we expect so much, because some, folks have set the bar very high in a few of these, like shocking
Yeah.
type things. But yeah, I think we've honestly gotten a little more desensitized to stuff, expect more. And then on the other side, they probably went a little too far from time to time with the bar that they set. So now everyone expects it to be like outrageous every time there's a commercial.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for one of these years for them to do like the throwback to the like, was that? Like, I just want to see one of those commercials again.
See, I mean, people pay a lot of money, so someone would have to pitch in to, bring that back up.
Yeah, well, it won't be me. That won't be me.
Oh man. But talking about NFL so much, it makes me miss college football, of course. That I feel like I'm more lean on the college football side of things. It's kind of more where my heart is. So way too early, right? Way, way, way too early. Give me your 2026 college football way too early national champion. Take us into the future. Get on your magical cloud, travel to the future, do some time travel, and think through who's there, who's the national champion.
Man, I really want to say Michigan, but I don't. I don't believe it. I do think they have a chance to be there in 2 years. I don't think that it's going to happen as quickly as this season.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few teams that come to mind. There's one, I feel like a broken record saying their name, but one that comes to mind is Georgia. I think they're always going to be in the running. And if I recall, their QB is returning, right? I think Stockton is younger.
Think. Because he
Let
was
me.
the backup to Beck, and then Beck got hurt. I think he was like either a freshman or sophomore when he came in. So I think I'm almost positive maybe he's only a junior or a sophomore.
Yeah, this is the weird thing about looking things up in the off season. He's listed as a junior, but I don't know if that means he's a junior right now or next year he'll be a
I think
junior.
he's a junior. I'm almost positive he's a junior, according
Either way,
to
I'm
some.
quite certain that he'll be back, and so I think that that's good. The other team that comes to mind here, and I talked a lot about this guy last year, but I think Oklahoma could really shock some people. They were pretty damn good this year. There was just a couple of games where they slipped up, and I mean, John Mateer could easily be a Heisman if nothing else, and I think that that team could be in contention even more than they were this year. So that was a cop out. I'll choose one, and just to be different, I'm going to say Oklahoma because I say Georgia most years. So there it is. There it is.
Okay. I was respectful. You got to kind of, think about it as well. Of like some thoughts. I mean, I'll give you a couple teams that float in my head, and then I'll give you who I think could be there. I'm curious to see what happens with LSU. I'm curious to see, are they going to be that good right away? Obviously, Lane Kiffin coming in there is very different. They were expected to be, I think, good, and they really haven't been that great over the past few years. So I'm curious to see if that makes a big difference, especially with what he did at Ole Miss. Like, is it going to take him a few years? You know, and so that'll be one big question mark. I mean, listen, everybody always defaults to Ohio State. They're always going to be somewhere near the top. If I had to guess, they have a lot of young talent. They're building on it. They got the number one wide receiver in this past year's recruiting class to add to an already impressive wide receiver room that they always somehow have. They had a freshman quarterback, so I could just see him getting better. I think I'm not going to lie though, they do have, at least right now, what appears to be a much tougher schedule than they did this year. So this year seemed like
Yeah.
it was, let's call it what it is, a cotton candy. Went to the fair,
Little bubble gum.
played some guy who sells bubblegum type schedule. So we'll see, again, if that makes a difference. Oh man, who else do I like? I'm very curious about Texas.
Me too.
Is
Me
next
too.
year going to be what this year's Texas was supposed to be? Like, are they going to ride the momentum?
They had a lot of momentum, and they still have Arch Manning, who is at his core is a Manning. Right?
Yep.
We can't overlook that last name.
Yep. So I will be curious about that. I am curious about Indiana. What do they look like? Are they going to continue? Can Signetti keep with the formula, or do they drop off a little bit after this high? But I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to make this pick in sincerity. I know I do a lot of reverse psychology type stuff. I do think 2026 is the year of the Oregon Ducks.
Hey, okay.
Am fairly confident based on what I've seen this year and knowing how much talent they've retained going into next year and how much they've added going into next year, especially with Dante Moore and a lot of other key pieces coming back. Like if their wide receiver room stays healthy, that's going to be one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. I'm telling you, like they have some very legit. Some of it's hypothetical because some of them are freshmen, but based on what I saw this year from the freshmen they have, the big question mark with Oregon is with both of their coordinators leaving. How big of an impact is that going to have on them? Like, is it a Lions situation? I don't think so, but based on the talent alone, I do think that'll carry them. And Dan Lanning has done better every single year he's been there. He's climbed another level, and then only the next level he can go to is either
Undefeated.
well, yeah, they went undefeated last year.
That's true. You're right.
The only other levels he has left to climb would be making it to the next game in the playoff or the finals. Though that's really the only two. Like that's
Or
all he
winning a
has.
conference championship.
Well, they won the Big Ten last year.
That's right. No, yeah, they did. That's right.
Their first
Because
year
of
in the
Michigan
Big Ten.
upsetting Ohio State. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so
wow.
They won the Pac-12. Wait, did they win the Pac-12? I can't remember. They might have won the Pac-12. Yeah, I think they won the Pac-12 one of his years. They won the Big Ten. They lost the first year in the playoffs. Now they, made it a few steps in the playoffs ahead. So now they're knocking on the door of either the national championship or the next level of the playoffs, which I'm hoping they'll make it there and then they'll show out. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, and I don't want to discredit their schedule, but I'm looking at their schedule right now, and the only challenges that I foresee The big one is going to be going to Ohio State. That's
Yep.
going to be a tough game.
Yep.
And then this might be hometown bias, or it might be because they are typically historically competitive in the Big Ten. Is hosting Michigan will be probably a tough game too. There's other schools on here that I don't want to discredit. USC, Illinois, Nebraska, like they've had some success lately, but I think that their true test is going to be Ohio State and Michigan. And if they win both those games, then good Lord, like the sky's the limit. But if they can win one of those games at least, then I think that they have a great shot at competing in the national stage.
Yeah, and there's no Indiana next year. There's no, Penn State if Penn State was good. So yeah, I mean, it really does. It goes through Ohio State and Michigan in terms of the schedule, and then you never know. There could be some random team on there that is suddenly good, like in Indiana. So I don't
Yeah.
always like to discredit the schedule until we start getting into the season.
I am a concerned fan for Michigan this year because we've got Oklahoma, we have Penn State, which you never really know. We have Indiana, we have Oregon, we have Ohio State. I mean, it's a rough year looking at the schedule for Michigan.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why I think maybe it's going to be the following year. That's our year whenever our quarterback is a junior and we've got our running backs are a little bit older because, we've got Jordan Marshall who's young right now. And then we have Hyder coming in who is, he's going to be a true freshman. And we just picked up was it Tatum that we just got from the transfer portal? So
yeah,
it's an interesting time to be a Wolverines fan. We've also picked up a lot of depth from Utah just because they followed their coach.
yeah.
And so who knows? I mean, maybe this team looks fantastic next year because we did have a lot of young talent on offense, especially looking at like the line offense. And I think defensive line too was a little bit younger for the most part.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? This is my hometown bias coming out. That's not really what we were talking about, but I made it about Michigan because I'm wearing the shirt.
I think that Michigan also needs to get wide receivers, man. I don't know why they never
We
seem
got one.
That's why I'm saying that they never seem to have, and not that you have to have 10 of them, but they never seem to be their strong point.
You're exactly right about that.
Like can you name, like, I mean, okay, Nico Collins maybe, but like, can you name, like, I can't even name like 10 incredible wide receivers that went to Michigan recently that are like,
No.
wow, those were, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's guys that have flashes, but
I feel like in like the last 5 years, the best one was Roman Wilson, and he's playing like an occasional down in Pittsburgh for the Steelers. Like he's not even a starter there. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be a receiver in Michigan.
I mean, they've been, traditionally a run first team or run heavy team. So that's fair. But when you have Bryce Underwood, I feel like you got to give him somebody to throw the ball to.
Yeah. Well, and we need to unleash him and let him throw the ball. Last year, they protected him so much that it made him look terrible.
Yeah, for sure. Well, switching gears just a minute here. I know there's been a lot of discussion. So I want to talk about two different things that I want to, just kind of get into that are different outside of football. So
yeah.
One of them's UFC related. One of them's WWE related, since I know you've been watching a little bit of that, and there was a big event that happened. Yeah. But there's been a lot of discussion about the UFC White House potential card that I think is supposed to happen in June, if I'm not mistaken. So curious to hear what you've seen on rumors about the card. I know that nothing has been finalized. There's been a lot of stuff, at least that I've seen out there. I know MMA Uncensored posted or tweeted about their, what they think the UFC White House card looks like. So I don't know. What do you think? Like, what do you think could happen? What would you like to see happen? What have you heard could happen? Just generally curious your thoughts on that.
Trying to take this in and figure out how I want to reply to this, because first of all, I think this is a gimmick. I'll start with that. I think it's a gimmick fight, and there's a few things that are weird about it. First of all, it being outdoors. That's not normal for UFC fights. Now you're going to maybe potentially be battling the elements or the temperature or whatever could be happening. So I'll start with that. There's also, I mean, the one thing I think that's really exciting to think about here is that like virtually every title is apparently going to be on the line from all the rumors I've seen. Like they're going to have they're trying to line up as many of their championship fights as they can. Which can be tough because these guys take months worth of rest in between fights to, rest and keep retraining. So that means that the events leading up to it are going to be terrible, probably, is one of my takeaways here. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of gimmicks and there's a ton of rumors because they're trying to bring back people who have kind of fought in the past that had more celebrity status, like Conor McGregor's, John Jones's, who have said they're retired or said they're not going to fight anymore. So it's weird. On one hand, it's like, oh, we're going to have a super competitive, like historic card here with all of our champions all in one place. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, we're also going to bring in these people who actually don't fight anymore, who might not be as good as they used to be. And we're just going to try and get some cash grab from that. But at the same time, it's also outside, and we're not going to have as big of a audience because it's in the middle of the White House. Like, I don't know. I have so many mixed feelings about it, and I've seen so many rumors that I don't know what is true anymore and what is fake. All I know is that I feel like it's overhyped and it's probably going to underdeliver. Is my take on it.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, those are not takes that I've heard. I'm not going to lie. I think I've heard a lot of the opposite, and it's most, I won't lie. A lot of it that I've heard is coming from Dana. So obviously he's going to be excited, like he's going to
The
have
greatest
a bias.
promoter of all time.
Yeah, of course, but I've heard some other folks talk about it who are either, like Rogan and Theo, a lot of the guys that like are interested in UFC, or at least I would call them more of like, regulars. They go to the fights. They follow. They have fighters on their pods, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, number one, I think it is going to be a cool event, regardless of how good the fights are or the matchups or whatever it ends up being. Is it going to overpromise and underdeliver? I think the concept is really interesting. I mean, you have to admit it's obviously,
if for nothing else, it's unique, right?
Yeah, it's obviously something that's never been done and may never be done again, granted, like the situation and where it's at. The thing I did not think about, you brought up that was interesting, is the temperature, because it's going to be, I mean, in June, it's humid in DC. So I'm wondering how much that will play into. I guess I never really thought of that. Apparently, they said that they might have fighters, like when they come out, they're going to be in the Oval Office and they'll be walking out from the Oval Office. But I'm like,
Jeez.
I don't know if they're just saying that, like
there has to be clearance for that. I mean, I guess they probably would have all kinds of security protocols, but
yeah, definitely.
I mean, given our political climate, it wouldn't shock me at all if this was some grand, ceremonious, cinematic event. But then also on the other side of the fence, there's going to be probably thousands of protesters there. And it's just, the whole thing is probably it's just bizarre to me. I don't know.
I don't know though. Do you think that they would hire, I would think that they would hire a bunch of extra security and block things off to where maybe that's not that you would like see that on the broadcast, but I'm almost wondering if they would block off enough of whatever because of the event that people can't even really get near it. Does that make sense?
Tell me your thoughts on this. This might be taking it too far. Does this seem like ancient Rome, where you're having these people come and fight for the elites only to be able to watch? Because the regular MMA fan is not going to be allowed into the White House to watch fights. It almost feels like gladiator fights just for the elites to watch.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yes, with the twist that it can be televised, so technically anyone can watch it, right? So it's, I guess, like,
that's true.
In person, yes, definitely, that's probably the vibe, but with the caveat that technically anyone can tune in, as long as you get whatever, if it's on Paramount, or I don't know what they'll put it on, but
yeah. So, well, I tell you what, I will probably check it out. Is the final thing I'll say, because it is unique, and I'm gonna be curious.
Yeah,
but and admittedly, I don't watch it as much as I used to. I used to watch I consumed every bit of media that existed in relation to mixed martial arts back in the day. And for me, it does feel a little gimmicky. So I'll be curious to see if the fights actually deliver, and if it does feel like a normal UFC event, or if it feels like some grand ceremony and cinematic like movie that's fake and playing out in front of our eyes.
If it feels like Jake Paul versus somebody, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, let me ask you this though. If there is one fight that you absolutely could control and say, I want to see this on the card, what would it be? If you had to pick one matchup of two guys.
Probably John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, because I feel like Jones has been ducking Aspinall for years and just literally retired because he didn't want to fight him.
But we know that's not going to happen.
I mean, there have been rumors that he may come back and do it, but it's not looking like it's going to happen. Have they already confirmed a fight for Aspinall?
I don't know. So the latest clip I saw of Dana, he was saying something like, there's a 1 in a billion chance that Jones will come fight on this card.
Right.
which is very
Yeah.
weird because a few months ago it was the opposite, is what I heard. That he's like, Jones absolutely wants to fight on this card because of the historicness, like the just his career, like even this is like a cap off of his career. So I'm like, that's
Yeah.
weird. What changed?
He's scared. I mean, it's the weirdest thing because I wholeheartedly believe that John Jones is the greatest MMA fighter that has ever existed, and I don't even think it's close. And it seems like he's like scared to fight Aspinall, and I don't know why. Because there's been other times where it seemed like a new, young, stronger opponent might be able to beat him, and then he came in and wrecked them, just
Yeah,
completely dominated them. So his attitude has just shifted, and if anything, he owes this sport for all the bullshit that he's pulled up throughout his entire career.
yeah,
But he doesn't give a damn. So
yeah,
that's what it is. I mean, that's just what it is. But that would be like my dream scenario is that I would like to see that fight.
yeah. That's fair. I don't know. I mean, do you even care if Conor McGregor fights, or at this point you're like, he's old news?
Conor McGregor is always entertaining because he can sell a fight and he used to be able to perform very well in a fight. But I think that he's probably washed at this point. Now, maybe he's out taking this seriously and he's training really hard. And maybe he gives us a great entertaining fight. But I don't think he competes with the best of the best anymore. And so why are we bringing him back for this other than just to have a celebrity on the card?
Well, and that he is under contract of UFC and still owes them fights.
Yeah.
That explains a lot, right?
Yeah.
If he can get
But
paid a
yeah, I mean,
lot,
seeing him rumored to fight like Paddy Pimblett is just kind of funny to me. But I mean, whatever. Maybe it'll be a good fight.
should be interesting. But all right, I want to give you some time too to talk about Royal Rumble or WWE Royal Rumble. I mean, I didn't watch it. I saw some clips of stuff, but what's your 2-minute highlight of what happened?
Yeah, any WWE event is highly scrutinized these days, for better or for worse. There is a lot of internet keyboard warriors that talk about wrestling anymore. I think it's become so visible and the media is so involved in it that there's too much information that's accessible. And so people are constantly thinking that if they don't see exactly what they want to see, then it's not a good event. And so wrestling is hard for people to agree on that something was actually a good event. And you just rarely ever see that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Royal Rumble was good. I enjoyed watching it. It's always a little weird when they're in Saudi Arabia because the women all like have to cover up their skin and like they at least this time I think they leaned into it and made like memes and made videos like calling themselves Power Rangers because they were all wearing like these full body suits. But I thought because of that, with it was also an outdoor event in Saudi Arabia with them wearing these full suits of gear instead of wearing like what they normally would wear, that they would have like a shorter, kind of just quicker version just to do a fan service and get that Royal Rumble over. But they kicked ass. The women kicked ass.
Mm.
And I was loved the outcome. Liv Morgan is probably my favorite like female wrestler. And she won this year after years of getting second place multiple times. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that because she, I think, is one of their best stars and has just had an injury in the last year and a half or so that kind of took her out of the scene. So it's good to see she's back. For the men's Royal Rumble, could have seen it going a million ways. I don't know. Do you know who LA Knight is, Deeb? I know you don't watch it
Yeah,
regularly.
yeah. Yep. I know who he is.
LA Knight is like a fan favorite who has been continuously like near the top, but never actually gets that final push to being like the main champion. And so I kind of thought maybe this would be the time that he would come back and get that push. That didn't happen, but they still made him have a good match. But my boy Roman Reigns won, and I think the WWE is better when Roman Reigns is at the top. I think he is their biggest star overall. People can say what they want because you call him a part-timer, say that he leaves and comes back, but he's their best star. And so he's at the top again. He's going to be at WrestleMania, which is good for the sport. Other notable things, I thought that they had a championship match that was kind of weird for me. It was Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. Drew was like 11-0 against Sammy, so it's kind of like, oh, like maybe Sammy will finally win, but also Drew just got the belt, so like of course he's not going to lose already. So Sammy loses. Drew has now beaten him 12 times and lost 0 times. It's kind of just a weird way to do that. But the big story here was Gunther, who is the guy who retired Goldberg,
Yeah.
and the guy who retired John Cena, had a retirement match against AJ Styles. And he choked him out unconscious and won that. So now AJ Styles has retired as well. And so in like 3 or 4 months, Gunther has now retired, ended the careers for like 3 big superstars. and is like leaning into this full like heel momentum where he's just calling himself the career killer and like constantly like threatening to ruin people's careers now. So
Interesting.
it's interesting. I thought it was a good event, but I think what comes next is what we should all be excited for, and hopefully we have some good stories going towards WrestleMania.
So this might be a very obvious question, but the Royal Rumble for women is separate from the Royal Rumble for men, right? They have two separate
Yep,
events.
yep. And whoever wins each one gets a guaranteed title shot at WrestleMania, so it's a big deal to win it.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that was unique this year, there were some kind of surprise entrances, but it was in Saudi Arabia, and so they didn't have like a bunch of shocking people that were involved because like someone who doesn't regularly wrestle would have to literally travel across the world just to be on camera for 10 minutes and then go back home. Like
Yeah, it's a long
we just
way.
didn't see very many of those types of surprises there.
Okay.
So that in itself was a bit of a letdown, but I think that what they did was still very quality for what they were working with.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, where would you rank it? Do you feel like it was better, like a more recent times, like a higher quality, or do you feel like it was like
Mm,
it's average?
I thought if I'm comparing it to other Royal Rumbles, it was probably average in my
Okay.
opinion. I think they did a great job with the storylines that they were able to do within the Rumble and with the actual like wrestling them itself. The men's Rumble felt rushed. It's almost like they were trying to like get them out of the building.
Mm,
So it was like usually it's like every 2 minutes or so someone comes out, and for the men's it felt like it was like every 30 seconds there was like another entrance happening. So some of it just felt like a little rushed, but yeah, I mean it wasn't bad. I love the Royal Rumble, so I would say overall I enjoyed it quite a bit. But as far as stacking it up to other Rumbles, it probably wasn't near the top for me.
okay. That's fair. So could be better, not the best one you've ever seen. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, still a great event, but lots of room for improvement. And I think that the biggest issue that they had was the fact that it was in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a long travel, like you said, for a lot of folks that make guest appearances and all that kind of stuff. And even for
Yeah.
probably for some of the regulars.
Yeah, I mean, the Rumble is known for like some legends coming back for, just to have that pop, or celebrities coming out. Like you just never know who you're going to see, which is what makes it fun. And in this case, there just weren't really big surprises.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I think to cap things off, we started with this, but I'd like to end with this. You want to do some waste management picks? Just kind of go through a couple
Yeah.
categories and give people your thoughts, and then we can kind of go through that and see, are we on the same page or way different in terms of what we're thinking?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna pull up our little DraftKings league here,
Okay.
just so I've got the field in front of me, because
Yep.
admittedly, I don't know every single person that's in the field this week.
Wow, it's a lot of people. All right, so
Yeah.
let's do. We'll do four different categories. Give me one person you think will finish in the top 10 out of the folks
Obviously, we're not
here.
going to say Scotty for this, right? Because that's like damn near a guarantee. I feel like.
Not for that. No, let's say we'll skip Scotty for the first two. Let's to keep things reasonable.
Okay.
No cop outs.
I don't want to choose anybody that's like too close to the top here. So let me say I'm going to stick with my boy. To make top 10, I'm going to go with Goddard up this week.
Okay, I like that. He's been playing pretty well, and I mean, he really at the end of the last year, especially the last major, he caught fire, man. He kind of came out of nowhere.
Hmm.
I had no idea who that guy was the whole season until that. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
that wouldn't surprise me. Mine is going to be Maverick McNeely. I feel like
Nice. Yeah.
he's a pretty
He made top
solid
10 last
guy.
week.
He did, and he's placed, I believe, ninth and sixth the past 2 years when he's played here. So
Damn.
hoping
Okay.
that he continues his top 10 streak this coming year. What about one guy you think will absolutely make the cut, guaranteed?
Guaranteed.
Well, from your perspective.
I'm going to go with Tor Bjornsson, if I said that correctly.
Okay. Any reason why?
I feel like every time I watch that guy golf, he does better than I think he's going to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like he has, at least like the last half of last year, I was like, damn, this guy's actually pretty decent. And so I think he's going to make the cut. And it's also not like a super obvious pick. So I was trying to get something that I felt kind of strongly about, but wasn't like an obvious choice.
Okay. I like it. You're thinking outside the box. For mine, I'm going to say give me Nick Taylor, the Canadian. He has a
Okay.
pretty strong history here. I think he won it in 24, and he was second the year before. Last year, he was top 25. So he has a pretty reasonable history recently to make. Now, he's had some issues in the past, but more recently, I feel like he's been playing reasonable enough to make the cut. So I like him.
Hell
What
yeah.
about
Okay.
one person you think will miss the cut for sure?
Ooh, let's go with, gosh, I feel like I don't want to say a name that's too good here.
Hey, you can be controversial. That's okay.
Okay. Wyndham Clark.
Ooh, okay.
Is that controversial enough?
Any particular reason?
No, I think he's a great golfer, but there are weekends that he falls apart. And sometimes I think mentally, at least from what I see on TV, his mental isn't as strong as some other golfers. So that's it. That's all I got.
That's really funny, and I will go back to you need to watch the Netflix show that we were talking about, Full Swing, because you'll learn a lot about that guy's mental, let's call it training through that show.
Okay. Yeah.
It shows you behind the scenes of what he does. I'll just leave it at that in case you watch it. My person is Chris Kirk. So I was looking at just kind of some general stats. The guy has missed the cut like 4 out of the last 5 years that he's played, he's missed the cut.
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
he seems to be a struggle bus for whatever reason at this. And then give us your outright winner.
Mm.
And it can be Scotty. That's fair. That's a cop out answer, but if you think he's going to win it, that's okay.
Cam Young.
Damn it. That's exactly what I was going to say. That's wild. No way. I swear to you, that's exactly who I was going to say. I almost slipped up and said it that he would be the top, make the cut. But then I was like, wait, I'm going to pick him for outright. I like
Well,
him.
hey,
I like
there we
him.
go then.
I like him too. I
Yeah.
mean, I think he's been playing well there. He's been playing well since last season. So
Fun guy to watch.
let's see. Maybe our maybe we'll both get screwed over, or maybe we'll lose out. We'll win a lot of money if we pick him.
Hey, there's one thing that's for sure. If he sucks this weekend, then we're going to hear about it on the internet because we both picked him.
That's fair. Well, if we see him in person, it'll be kind of funny because my friend Travis, who's going on the trip with us, looks like him. Like he's a Doppler of him. If you've ever, Cam Young is a skinnier version of Travis. Not to be mean, but he's a slender version of Travis. Let's put it that way.
I
So
can see that.
If
Yeah,
we
I can see that.
if we see him in person, I'd be like, it's your Doppler. It's your Doppler.
Here's your doppelganger.
It should be pretty fun, but I don't know. It should be fun, man. I'll be sure to report back and take some footage, and yeah, looking forward to telling y'all about it next week.
Yes, sir. Well, you enjoy the trip, man. Tell everyone I said hello. Send me some pics, videos, and like I said, I'm there in spirit. Sometime Friday night, Saturday night, just imagine me crushing a beer can on my head and drinking it, and then I'm there in spirit with you guys.
Sweet, man. Well, we'll catch you next week.
All right, take care, brother.
Yep.